From high top Mount Manitoba, it's another episode of This Crap Was on National Television, and I'm your host, Kirk Buchner. I operate NotInHallOfFame.com and the sister sites, Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, which you can vote on now at www.notinhalloffame.com/USA. And with me, and this is why I wore this hat, I wore the Ohio State hat for my partner in this, Chris Bernay. How you doing?
Go Bucks. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, so, and we have also a special guest, the new addition to the family. This is Winnie the Mini Dachshund. So Winnie will probably be popping up here and there. It's just easier for me to hold her, and then I don't have to worry about her chewing things that she shouldn't be chewing.
Yeah.
Things that maybe you shouldn't be licking, like my face. You know, all right. So actually, maybe it's a good thing because we're talking about Manimal. Huh? Yeah, you're lucky you didn't have to watch it. We did. That was awful. December, I realized too, I sent you a version that was all in Italian. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I actually ended up having to like scour YouTube, but yeah. I know enough to be able to comment on it.
December, yeah, well, I found piles of that version in Italian, which goes to show you Italy loves Manimal. I guess.
Yeah, no idea why, but each his own.
I don't know, maybe it's because of the first star. Maybe she's much bigger there, or the first special guest star. December 17th, 1983, this is NBC again, I think it was, came up with another bonehead idea of their many bonehead ideas in the 80s. It's hard to believe, but in the first half of the 80s, if it was terrible, chances are it was on NBC.
There's a slogan for you. If it's terrible on NBC.
Well, it was true at that point. I mean, like they just gave some awful stuff, and they came up with Manimal, an idea, I guess, by Glenn A. Larson, who was the brainchild behind some actual pretty good schlock. The $6 Million Man, the original Battlestar Galactica, later schlock, The Fall Guy. But I mean, like, I guess, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he was, I mean, not unlike Aaron Spelling. I mean, not everything Aaron Spelling did was great TV, but he was successful at it.
Yeah, I guess this is sort of a callback to a previous episode. This was, I guess, his Stephen Bochco moment in terms of cop rock.
Yeah.
So the premise is, you don't have to guess too hard when you're watching the first 60 seconds of the intro. Well, it's called Manimal. So, hey, the compound word kind of gives it away. And then in the intro, you hear panther noises and hawk noises. So we know right away that this guy can turn into an animal, multiple animals. If I were to give you a history assignment, or not or an English assignment, I said, okay, Chris, come up with the most British sounding name you could come up with. Would it not be Simon McCorkindale?
Yeah. Well, I would probably say that's the most Scottish name I've ever heard, but definitely that the UK, definitely.
Yeah. Well, okay, you had to trump me on that one, but you're right. You're right. So Simon McCorkindale, actually, I forgot that he was in a few shows that I'd watched later on. He was in Counter-Strike, which was a Canadian show when Canadian shows started getting a little bit better. After this, he was in Falcon Crest for 50 episodes. So he worked until the end. He passed away from colon cancer about 10 years ago, but also in the running for James Bond.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know how serious that was. I think that they really, from what everything I remember back in the 80s, they wanted Pierce Brosnan really, really bad, but the Remington Steel producers wouldn't let him out of his contract or let him
Okay.
figure out a way to make that happen. So, I mean, I could see him doing that.
Yeah.
Although there was a couple skeevy moments that we're gonna go through later, which, oof, early 80s TV, I don't know what to say. So starring Simon McCorkindale, Melody Anderson, and when I saw her, it's like, where have I seen her before? She thought she probably had her first big break when she had the female lead 2 years earlier in Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
She was also in a Chuck Norris film, Firewalker, right at the tail end of when you could actually sell a film starring Chuck Norris. And yeah, and Speed Zone, or sometimes known as Cannonball Run 3, where she played one of sort of like the hot chicks, because they always had like the two hot chicks trying to get out of things by being hot, getting out of speeding tickets. Her partner was the lovely Sherry Belafonte Harper.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You,
Absolutely. Then starring Glenn Turman.
yeah.
I
was that was a surprise to see him in this. Not unlike Louis Gossett Jr. in, what was the one we did with him?
that would have been The Powers of Matthew Starr.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glenn Turman. I looked up his IMDb page. I mean, first time I saw him was in a different world, but I didn't realize like how much stuff he had done way before this.
Yeah.
And then we have Rennie Santoni as Lieutenant Rivera, which is all you need to know. I mean, the 80s were the trope of the crusty chief.
Yeah.
And Seinfeld fans will remember him as Poppy.
Okay.
If I remember right, you're not a Seinfeld person.
I've seen maybe one or two entire episodes of Seinfeld.
Okay, well, for those who have watched that, Poppy was the cook who didn't wash his hands.
Okay.
That was enough to get him for, yeah, he'll probably be more known as Poppy than anything else, even though he's got a laundry list of accolades, including appearing in the first Dirty Harry movie.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, so this guy was always working. So our first scene, we can tell that it's supposed to be New York City, although nothing here looks like New York City, because we see the shot of not Empire, of the World Trade Center, which will always freak me out every time I see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we don't really know. We just know that somebody who's really bad, and he's an arms dealer, I guess. He's selling arms to people, I guess, for a purpose that we really don't know. But they're being watched by, I wrote down a puma. I found it later it was a panther. But because I guess somehow they knew this was coming. As they're leaving the place up, now we see the guy, and he's in a full tuxedo, which, I mean, that's going to be a running gag here. Like, how the hell does he find these clothes to put on and off all the time? And he just uses the police card. Hey, I'm with the police. Follow this cab. Whatever you say. I'm gonna get one of those cards. I don't think that would work too well, but they tried this twice, so there you go. I'm on official police business. Follow that cab. Well, they go to a warehouse, and in the back of the cab, and the character, his name is Dr. Jonathan Chase. Love that name, actually. Well, then we see his hand sort of go all distorted. We don't see much of anything else, and then he's gone, because he lowered the window, and he's back to being a panther again. And the cab driver plays stupid. Like, what happened? He didn't even ask where his fare went. That must have been a long fare. He just got like screwed out of probably 30 US.
Right.
That didn't seem to bother him. Oh well, the guy he followed was loading weapons. And did you recognize this guy?
No, I didn't.
It's Terry Kaiser, who you would know as
Yeah,
Herbie Lomax. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Now that you say that, yes, I did recognize it. Yep.
Oh, holy crap, he was my MVP. He was all over the place, but you can't look at him without sort of like picturing him as Bernie. It was awesome, especially at the end, which we'll get to. Well, the truck leaves, and well, the Panthers in the back, and well, as they're going by in a truck that I think it said sewing machine, whatever. The cops, there's two cops, I guess two beat cops, because they're in full uniform, which is sort of relevant later because one of those cops, which is the Melody Anderson character, I think was Brooke. I forget her last name. Doesn't matter. She's, isn't that suspicious that there's a delivery truck at night? Because why wouldn't a truck move at night? Have you ever been on an interstate?
Yes.
They tend to do that a lot. So,
Right, right.
but her detective senses are really strong. And then you've got the also trope of the old partner. I mean, they might as well just have gotten, oh crap, what was his name? Danny Glover. I'm too
Oh,
old
yeah,
for this shit.
yeah, yeah.
I'm retiring today.
This was like the prototype for Lethal Weapon,
Oh yeah. You
or
know,
one of the many prototypes.
I was actually watching all of this. I thought, like if you and I were younger, we could be a detective thing in the
Yeah,
80s, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like like you're the straight-laced cop who just always plays by the book, and I'm the renegade with the bad jokes.
Right.
Oh yeah, that would have done really well in the box office, I'm sure. Uh, okay, yeah, Brooke McKenzie, that's her name. Oh God. Well, the Panther roars, freaks out Bernie. I'm just gonna call him Bernie because I don't remember what his character name is because it doesn't matter. And then there's of course the obligatory truck flip that we saw in the opening montage because there always has to be one of those car flips in every action sequence of the 80s. Had to be. Well, as sort of the two, I guess we'll just call them the hoodlums, Lomax and his partner, leave. The old cop comes. Oh, what are you doing with all these weapons? You're going to start your own guerrilla unit? And he's shot. Because that's usually what happens when you tell bad jokes. That's actually why I think if we were in a horror movie together, we wouldn't make it to the end. But I'd go first because again, the one who always tells the bad jokes dies first. And usually the black guy is the second to last. But neither of us are making it to the end.
I thought it was always the black guy is the one who's like the one who's expendable and is killed first.
Well,
but maybe I've got
they don't want to seem racist, right? So they got to kill somebody else first.
Okay.
Neither of us are making it.
Yeah, except for Night of the Living Dead, right? Except he made it to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Almost.
Well,
he didn't at the end until he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, of course, horror movies have evolved since then, but back when this was made, neither of us are living.
Yeah, devolved since then.
Oh yeah, devolved. Yeah, I could say that too. Well, he's shot. I thought dead, but he was later on. They said that he's in the hospital, but then later on she said you killed my partner, so they couldn't even get that straight. But whatever. I thought that I guess the one guy who shot him must have died because he was ran over by another cab. And then for whatever reason, Mackenzie, who had all these great, Brooke McKenzie, she had all these great instincts. She says, you know what, I'm going to follow that panther. Why are you following the panther?
Right.
And follows the panther into a corner, and the corner, and panther's gone. And then, well, there's Dr. Jonathan Chase. How'd he put his clothes on? Where do they come from? At least, with the Hulk, all his clothes rips off, but he's still wearing the shorts, his ripped jeans.
Yeah, yeah.
And I get that you can't have him going around naked, but come up with something.
Yeah, that made me think about the Linda Carter Wonder Woman series. Like when she did the spin and spun into Wonder Woman, her clothes disappeared. Like she didn't have, she had on the Wonder Woman costume, but it didn't show Diana Prince like going to pick her clothes up off. So it's like I just always assumed it was like a magical thing, like their clothes go in another dimension, and then they pop back on, when they're done superheroing.
The younger version of me is just picturing the Linda Carter twirl.
Yeah.
Thankfully, this will not be the creepiest thing we'll talk about today, and I think you know what scene I'm getting to later. Anyway, so the next scene, I guess now Mackenzie, who was in her full cop uniform, so what, she's a desk cop now? No, she's a detective? Like, what the hell is this?
Right.
So she's got the gruff chief who's I don't know. I wrote on the old guy wasn't dead because she says she wanted to check on the hospital. But later on, we learned that he did die. She was really worried about it. She wants to remain on the case, and the chief says there's a specialist at NYU or New York. Did they say NYU? Doesn't matter.
I don't remember. Yeah.
And because apparently all big police offices, I wonder if there's one here in Winnipeg, and maybe you should check that out in Columbus there, Chris. They've got a unit that specializes with animals and police work.
Yeah, I think we do have like a special. It might just be animal control.
Yeah, but that's picking up dead carcasses.
No, animal control is like, there's a pit bull loose, and somebody calls in and says, hey, this pit bull is chasing me, or it's, running around the neighborhood.
Well, it turns out that expert, of course, is Dr. Jonathan Chase. And I wrote down, this was a scene ripped off in Raiders of the Lost Ark, because as she's sort of going, remember that scene where Harrison Ford is doing his first class, and then there's the one girl sort of flirting with him, sort of the same thing where there's this one girl saying like, oh, it was really ogling professor. I gotta say, man, it's a British accent does so much. Not saying that Simon McCorkindale is not an unattractive man. He's a good looking dude, but the accent always helps.
Yeah. And it's always amazing to me how the British accent sort of translates to, like, American audiences will watch an actor with a British accent, but I don't know that British audiences necessarily, well, I don't know, because I guess American movies are hits over in England, but I don't know if British people appreciate an American accent or look down.
I think some of them might look down, depending on what. Well, I mean, there's so many diverse accents in both our countries, really. And then same with the UK for that matter.
Yeah.
But there's just something about our perception of it, and I think in one of the only chick flicks I'll ever like, Love Actually, they hit the nail on the head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there is something true to that. I did meet a guy, actually, I think I might have said this already, when I briefly had a job where I had to be trained in Cleveland, and there was this one British guy who was sort of doing one day of training with us, and he pretty much said the same thing. And he looked like Harry Potter. His wife looked like, well, maybe young Ursula Andress.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. So anyway, so she recognized him and he just plays stupid. Oh, I don't remember you. Says, call me in the morning. And he gets into Glenn Turman's car. Now, we don't know why he's here. We don't even know his name. We know nothing about this random guy who we just got into this car with. We know nothing, right, Winnie? Would you say? We know nothing. Nothing. What the hell is this?
Good question.
Yeah. And so he's just recapping the day's events to his buddy, again, whose name we don't know because he couldn't say, hey, Ty, here's what happened. He couldn't even say that. And then he says that now, for some reason, he knows that Lomax, and again, I'm just going to call him Lomax, is going to be at this club. How he knows this, I don't know, but he does. And she follows him there. And then as he enters the club, did you hear Beat It? Or I guess a cover version of Beat It?
Okay, I missed that. I didn't hear.
Yeah.
I didn't pick that.
So yeah, so they were playing that. I guess it's probably a version where they just have somebody do it, because I'm sure they would have had to pay the rights to.
Right.
Yeah, but whoever did it, it was actually pretty close. Because I went back. Yeah, well, I had to go back and listen to it twice just to make sure, like just to try to pinpoint a few other things. I think you and I being in the same age, that's a song we probably heard 1,000 times.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to listen to again to know exactly every beat. Pardon the pun on that.
Right.
Anyway, Chase sees that she followed in the club and then just brings her on the dance floor. And they're doing a slow dance. And then she realized, hey, you've got a bandage. Because I forgot to mention the Panther was shot
Mm-hmm.
when he was a Panther.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees Terry Kaiser and then pulls out her gun right there. So I'm going to bring you in. Okay. That's some good police work there, I think. There doesn't seem to be any interrogation. Oh, I just got a message here. All right, she's gonna hate that I just did this. My wife just flunked her driver's test again.
Oh no! Oh no!
It's a written test. I shouldn't laugh, but she's so smart and so perfect at everything. Sorry, we won't tell her that I laughed at that.
No, it's not like anyone's watching, right?
Our last show did pretty good.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, we'll still keep it under our hats.
yeah, absolutely. Under Ohio
Keep
State.
it up,
Okay, yeah.
Buckeye Cat.
Yes. All right, so there's no interrogation. I don't even know what's going on there. None of this makes any sense. They don't arrest him. They don't do anything. Like they don't even bring a lawyer to get him off. He just sort of like, she makes a scene that, okay, well, I'm going to go back to the pier just because that way he knows that there's stuff going on in the pier. Like what is this? Like if there was a police consultant on this show,
Mm-hmm.
they either weren't in the police, not that I know anything about this, but I know this makes no sense.
Right.
None of this made a lick of sense. Anyway, so she goes back there, and of course, Manimal says he's going to tag along, and the sexual tension begins. The will they or won't they? The Sam and Diane.
For Sybil and Bruce.
Sybil and Bruce, yeah. Oh man. She pulls into the warehouse where she says she's going to take a closer look and says, if I'm not back in 10 minutes, call the police. But you are the police. Now, whoever also wrote this character, she's got great instincts and terrible instincts. Here's a terrible instinct. Okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to try and be undercover while I'm wearing a bright red blazer and I'm carrying my purse around.
Yeah, not like she doesn't stand out, right?
Yeah, it's like my brother always used to make these jokes. He said, like, I don't know how the Americans could have lost the American Revolution. I mean, look what the British were wearing. The bright red jacket with a big X in the middle.
Yeah.
Shoot here.
Right.
That's another amazing thing. War was going on for centuries, and it took them till what time to figure out, hey, maybe we should try to blend in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, right away, you know that he's going to turn back into a panther, and so he does. And then I don't know why they sort of made it look like he's a werewolf, because like, why did he have to do this by the silhouette of the moon?
Right.
Are you implying that he can only do this when that's a full moon? Well, we know
Right.
that's not true. But anyway, the clothes rip off, which again, like, does he just keep clothes everywhere? I mean, I think that's a question worth asking. Anyway, the bad guys see her because again, she's wearing red, and the panther kicks over a box of grenades, which here's some good instincts. Hey, I'm going to use one to throw. And pretty much it just sets off an explosion, then a much bigger explosion than it should have been. She escapes, wakes up, and then there's Jonathan Jace just taking care of, like, how did you get here? I told you to stay put. They don't know what to do with this character. I mean, and the sad thing is, for Woman Cop, there have been so much worse ones in the 80s.
Yeah.
But was this around the time that they started Cagney and Lacey?
Yeah, I think Cagney and Lacey was it may have been the same year or maybe like the year before.
I think so, yeah, which is I think really the response to a lot of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In its own way, where just I get where you're going to have a male lead and in the 80s for that, but I mean, do you have to make these characters just so bad? And it's not her fault. but whatever. Well, we learned Mackenzie's still on the case, and now Manimal, he's a hawk now, and he's following Lomax into a limo with, and I just call him the arms dealer. I couldn't care less what his character name is. And he's now, the arms dealer is now meeting with Ursula Andress, who is 48 at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. Who, former Bond girl, former, I guess, pinup, I guess. I can't remember which Bond, had been an early one with Connery. And she just looked like absolutely incredible. At this point, she didn't. Like, looked like a lot of years of hard partying. Honestly, that's what it looked like to me. What do you think? Like, she didn't.
Yeah, she definitely didn't age as well as some of the other sex symbols from the era, definitely.
Well, let's just use Halle Berry, right? Because who was a Bond girl who's now well over 48. And I believe her bikini in that movie was based off of Ursula Andress, like it was sort of like paying homage.
Yeah.
That one with sort of like the bikini and the belt on that. So I think that was sort of an homage to Ursula. Halle is, well, she's Halle Berry.
And you also can't compare, I mean, a modern woman to a woman, because we know a lot more about health and fitness and taking care of yourself. And I mean, for that matter, there's much more plastic surgery and Botox and all of that available now too. I'm not saying that Halle Berry's had any of that. I'm just saying that.
But if she did, it was well done. Yeah. I mean, Sandra Bullock's near 60. Look at her.
Yeah. But even someone like Joan Collins, I mean, Joan Collins was in her 40s when she was on Dynasty, and she's like almost 90 now. And I mean, I'm sure she wears, but she looks almost exactly the same. She's a little thinner and a little more frail, but she looks almost exactly the same as she did in the 80s.
I thought she looked old then, but
oh, really? Well,
but
sure.
It was also 12.
Okay.
So
well, maybe I am an old soul because I didn't see her as looking old. I mean, she looked mature, but not elderly.
Yeah, that might have been one I just didn't get, but though I did watch Dynasty, and I do know now why I didn't watch this. This was on against Dallas. This never had a chance.
Right.
Like never had. But I mean, kudos for counter programming. Don't put on something similar. Try something different. I mean, I'll applaud them for that. So I don't really know. From all I can tell is she's trying to help overthrow a government. I don't know what the government is. I don't know if it's a revolution. I don't know if it's to squash a revolution. I got no idea other than it was $100 million deal. Well, Mackenzie, she sees that Mackenzie's there because somehow she knew to be there. I don't know how she figured that one out. And she used her cop privilege card. Hi, I'm with the police officer. Can I have your camera? Would that even work? Does that work? I don't think so. Anyway, she says that every police department is trying to identify her. So, like make sure she doesn't leave that park without that camera. Okay, if you're trying to be inconspicuous, maybe don't go out wearing a fur coat in the middle of summer. Dumbass. Kind of stands out, didn't she? Well, so the arms dealer takes the camera from Mackenzie, who then chases her on a bicycle only to be knocked over. Then the hawk springs into action, gets the camera, and then drops it to the kid, who I assume give it back to Mackenzie. And yeah, the hawk's now following Ursula back to her condo, I guess. And somehow he has clothes there because he's in a suit. Okay. Sneaks into place, and where Ursula is taking a shower, so I guess it's Ursula undress. All right, told you, first one killed.
Yeah.
And well, he makes a bit of noise when he's going in the closet. He turns into a cat awfully fast, much faster than he can turn into everything else. And he as a cat, he overhears the entire plan, which is, well, isn't much of a plan. They're just going to say what's going to happen tomorrow. And she's not even fazed that a random kitty cat just popped into the apartment. I kind of would be, but what do I know? Somehow, Brooke had blood samples of both the hawk and the panther. How? I mean, the panther, okay, was shot, but the hawk wasn't. The hawk was nowhere near her. She finds out that well, whoa, the samples you gave me were all human. Oh, look what she's figured out. This guy, yes, you've got something to say. He's figured out that Jonathan Chase is really the animal. Well, look at that. Again, super genius and super stupid. I don't. Whatever. Well, now the next scene. So Jonathan Chase is now he's a waiter. So I guess animals aren't allowed in restaurants. Because how did he pull this off? He just decided I'm going to use police business, and now I'm going to be a waiter. Did it work like that?
Yeah, right.
So then you take in the other trope of the stuffy old white lady getting their cherries jubilee, and he's not paying attention because he's overhearing. I guess he's got superhuman hearing, although I don't know how that worked, but overheard the next stage of the plan, where apparently it's going to be a convoy, and then I guess it's supposed to make us laugh when he spills cherries all over the fat lady. Ha ha ha. All right. Again, they just seem to be 10 steps ahead of everybody. Lomax, I guess he's got a hooker, and while the hooker's freshening up, because that's what hookers generally do, Glenn Turman's there, Ty. I don't know how he got in there, but he did. And he just shows up with a snake, and that snake makes the woman faint, because snakes make women faint. What are we watching?
Glenn Turman, of course, knew that would happen for sure.
Well, he is a seasoned actor still at this point, so yes, he's seen it all, I'm sure. Oh my god! And just skulks into the room there, and put the snake now on the bed, and now with the snake, they're interrogating Lomax. Pretty much learns that there's trying to get info on this convoy, and I don't know how she shows up, but she does. There's Detective Mackenzie, and she overhears the whole thing, and he's happy with that information, but that's not good enough for me. You killed my partner. And of course now Lomax faints, and then she grabs the snake and says, hey, turn, what did she say, like, turn, I know that's you. And then he shows up, it does some British thing, and she faints, because again, snakes, 2, women fainting, 0. Lomax fainted too, so I guess that's 3. I don't know, whenever there's a scary animal, I just freak the hell out. I don't faint.
Yeah, I've yet to lose consciousness. I'm too busy trying to run away from it.
Yeah, there was this, I remember in Barbados, there was this creepy looking bug, and I couldn't kill it. I'd never seen anything like that. And then as soon as I stepped on it, he just came back up like, haha, like, ah. But yeah, never once did I want to faint. When I was a kid, we always played with snakes. Try to find those little gardener snakes and whatnot. Well, now this is where this gets really awful. The next scene, she's in a bed, and Chase is sort of like doing the cold compress. And this went to creep factor number 10 out of nowhere. She is naturally freaked out, and sees that she's in a robe. How did that happen? Well, because he was a perv and undressed you. And he said, but I'm a doctor, and it's okay. What is this, Revenge of the Nerds?
Right.
How did we accept this shit? For me, like, this was actually the worst scene. There's a way you can do sexual tension. There's a way you can do all this stuff. You don't have to be, we already know that there's the power dynamic.
Yeah.
You don't have to be so blatantly obvious, like this is just, and the sad thing is, by trying to make her a couple steps ahead, I'm sure that when they wrote this, they thought, we're making a strong, powerful woman here. I honestly think they thought that.
Right. For the 80s, I suppose. Yeah.
I think I could go back and watch some Cagney and Lacey. I never watched it. It was a show that back then I think wasn't really meant for me, but maybe now I think I want to give that a shot. But anyway, yeah, so what was it? It was very unwise. Oh yeah, this was his creepy line. It is very unwise for anyone who is unconscious to wear something tight and constricting. I don't care what accent you're using. That's not right.
Right.
Yeah. So that is just awful on so many different levels that I can't even begin to even try to do that.
Doesn't have Jake Bond's suave way with the ladies. Definitely not.
Oh, it was awful. This was just disgusting. She freaks out, and then he gives her pills to relax, and we'll talk about this in the morning. So I wrote down, who wrote this? Bill Cosby?
Oh God.
Well, I mean, she doesn't take the pill. She sneaks down to investigate and finds the journal of Jonathan Chase. And we finally learn the backstory, because I don't know about you, but one of the things you sort of expect in any kind of, and let's just call him a superhero, because I guess that's what this was trying to be.
Yeah.
You do the backstory first, or at least come up with it pretty quickly.
Yeah, you have to have some kind of flashback to show how his origin.
Yeah, well, we did, but we learned nothing really. Okay, he was in Cambodia in 1972 working in military intelligence, and I think and that's where he met Ty, which was Glenn Turman, who I think was either referred to as a private and a corporal. I think that's what I heard, and again, I just didn't want to go back. Well, they were both captured somehow, and then apparently his father had been studying metamorphosis. We don't know how, we don't know what, we don't know if it's a serum, we don't know anything other than, well, now he figured it out. In, I guess, literally a tiger cage in Cambodia. Turns into the panther, sort of escapes everything, and then Ty knows the secret. And I guess it's sort of like, I don't know, maybe it's sort of the old Chewbacca life debt. I don't know. I mean, I was, and I've said this before on the show, Chris, but I was questioning life choices at this point. This. Oh my God. All right. Well, so she's still not convinced, because now the Panther shows up, as does Chase, and now we also learn that he's got another power. He has a way with animals. He's Dr. Doolittle. He can talk to the animals. So they form an uneasy alliance, and they don't tell the lieutenant about it. Well, about the whole what Jonathan Chase can do, but does say, well, there's a all right, there's going to be a convoy, and the military's involved. So they just happen to call the colonel, and every time we see the colonel, he's in a pool. He's got a pretty easy job. Maybe I should have went into the military. Well, the convoy's happening anyway, and Chase recognizes that the colonel's actually involved because he hears that voice. Now they split up. Now this convoy is pretty much a weak convoy, because this convoy is only seeming to go to the army base, which is in town, to the pier, which is in town. Maybe you don't put it as a convoy. Maybe you split them up. Not so conspicuous. I don't know. They split up because they're stupid. He becomes a hawk again, follows that, and she's really bad at tailgating because she followed too close and gets taken hostage, because of course she did. Because now we got to have the damsel in distress. We got to go with that.
Right.
Chase hatches a plan. He says, I'm going to go to the zoo. And he releases all the animals. And I guess you get stock footage of just animals doing things. And they were pretty lazy. There's lions and tigers and cheetahs. And I think one time it was just, I think a cheetah was almost licking itself. I don't know. We just stretch it up, waking up from a nap. Like, all right, we better go help. All right. Because why not? All right, well, off they go, and they're going to the dock or the pier or whatever the hell it is. Ursula shows up and implies that Mackenzie's going to be drowned because, again, that's what you do when you take someone hostage who knows everything. You keep them alive just a little longer. Well, the cat army attacks, takes out a bunch of the henchmen, but then some kind of gas is released that takes down Manimal, but they never, because he's a panther, but they don't see. He just sort of wakes back up in a suit. They never saw him transform back, and then because we did actually just see the clothes ripped off. So, all right. Lomax says, they should kill them both. And Ursula says, no, we're going to put them in the cargo hold with the girl. Because again, villains are brilliant.
Right.
He turns into a panther again, frees Mackenzie, and then as the henchman checks up, we have our fourth fainting. Mackenzie now has that gun, and they split up again. This didn't work before. Well, this time it does. The panther scares Lomax, who fell out of the boat, and automatically, all I could think of was Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Ursula is celebrating with, I guess we find out who these people are. I'm guessing they were Middle Eastern. I don't know what they were trying to overthrow.
Right.
But they're the ones who bought the weapons. Mackenzie's on their way, and the worst fight scene. She takes out the henchman out the door with a karate chop that looked like it couldn't hurt a fly, and then a knee lift that didn't connect. Also, the same clip that they used in the opening montage. So we already know that she can't fight.
Yeah.
She barges in. But she's outnumbered. Does have a gun, however, but it's okay because the panther shows up and says, "You were saying," and that's pretty much it. Well, the next scene, they're flirting with each other. They're back at his place. He says, "Well, it's too bad we didn't get the colonel." "Oh, you're wondering about that?" And then the final scene is he's back. The colonel's making his plans to escape to Rio. And this is the second time that the shark trope in our show has showed up. And then another bad shark came up because I guess he turned into a shark, snuck into his pool, and just that's it. See, show over. I don't know if this is the worst thing we ever watched. Matthew Starr is looking really good.
Yeah.
The Master's looking really good. This might have been one of the worst ones we've ever watched, if not the worst.
Yeah, I read that it made like TV Guide's like worst shows of all time, like one of the rankings that TV Guide did.
I don't see how it couldn't. I mean, the special effects were abysmal. The plot made no sense. The only thing I'll say is the acting wasn't shit. We have nothing to work with.
Yeah.
So that they got in some actors who could do their parts. All of these people had very long careers.
Right.
And like did exceptionally well for themselves. I mean, we're looking at, including Ursula and Terry Kaiser, we're looking at 6 people who, for sure, and there might be more, who probably had very nice homes because of acting.
Mm-hmm. Maybe because they never turned anything down. Like,
now I want to do my Nicolas Cage impression after you said that. So, as always, I ask you, whose fault was this?
Yeah, I think it was, you have to fault the show, I guess, co-creator Glenn Larson. Because, I mean, granted, you have to give him that he was trying to do high concept TV, like you said, counter programming to Dallas. They didn't just try to do another nighttime soap. And he had a track record with sci-fi shows like Buck Rogers, but
that's he was that. Yeah, he did that too.
Yeah. And this show did develop a cult following because I had read that it like was released on DVD. So if there was absolutely no demand for it whatsoever, it wouldn't have been released on DVD. And I'm sure the ratings when it originally aired with like TV shows now would be like, oh, we had 15 million people tuning in. No, that's not Dallas's 30 million people tuning in, but since there were only three networks and not everybody had cable back then, I'm sure the rate for this show would not be considered a flop now. It'd be considered like a flop.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, if you think about just, I don't even know what I think the highest rated television show always is football now. But
Yeah,
whenever there's anything that's sort of water cooler talk, if there is anything like that. So let's say maybe it's Stranger Things. I don't know what their viewership is, but it's probably less than what Manimal did.
right. Because everything is so fragmented now. You have so many streaming channels, so many cable channels. You have YouTube. People can watch whatever they want, whenever they want.
Yeah. I wonder if Larson was worried about budget, because I forgot that he did Buck Rogers. So did you watch Buck Rogers and Battlestar?
I was a huge Buck Rogers fan. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So me too. So like you probably remember in both of those series, right? You had these really cool first seasons, and then it just wasn't generating enough. So they had to cut back on virtually everything.
Yeah.
So Buck Rogers, they altered that whole thing to the side. I guess they cut back on everything, including the voice of Twiggy, which was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Battlestar Galactica was even worse because then they just arrived at Earth, so that way they didn't have to do a bunch of sci-fi stuff. So I wonder if that sort of played into the part of it, because it's okay, we're gonna give you, you're gonna do this, but your budget's cut in half because we know what you'll do.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to throw something out there, but they weren't gonna spend the money. And in 1983, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
But maybe this just wasn't meant to be done.
Yeah.
At that point.
Did you come across when you were researching this? Did you hear that Adam McKay and Will Ferrell had wanted to do a reboot, like I think a movie?
No.
Yeah, they wanted to do like a MacGuber type, play on this. And I think up until like 2014, Glenn Larson was actually on board, but of course he passed away. And they said that was the only reason why it never got off the ground, because he died before they could actually get the reboot off the ground.
That would have been really interesting. That would have been very interesting to see.
But it would have been totally, it would have been totally like Starsky and Hutch, like spoof. It wouldn't have doing a straightforward Manimal the way this was trying to be.
Oh man. So I've got a couple ideas for next time that I'm already ready to bounce off you. I saw one. This might be too short to do because I saw another bad variety show from the 70s. But there was one that I got inspired by. It's when the Carpenters went sci-fi.
Oh my God. So they sort of like acted out the lyrics of Interplanetary Craft, that song.
Yes.
Wow.
So that apparently exists, and I think Suzanne Summers is part of that. I got to find it.
At best.
I stumbled across that from like another YouTube channel. Apparently there's others other than mine. Based on my viewership, I'm sure there's a lot of that. But it's this one. You might like this one too. It's called Todd in the Shadows. And sometimes he does a series called Train Records, which he just looks at albums that totally missed.
Okay.
And this one was when the Carpenters tried to do something different. And apparently there was like a TV special with them kind of based on this idea. So if I can find it, it could be that. And if I can't, maybe one of the Battle of the Network Stars.
I would love, either one.
Yeah.
I would love Battle of the Network Stars because I remember watching that as a kid.
Yeah, because we're on the same age. So maybe it should be something like from like the early 80s when we both would have like really kind of remembered a little bit of this.
Right.
Especially the shows that they were on, because like the first ones in the set, like when it's somebody from like a 70s show that maybe we didn't watch. I don't know, but yeah, it's always sort of interesting to see like, wait a minute, this guy is can be an athlete. Like when Billy Crystal.
Oh yeah.
Who's actually, you'd never think that, but this guy can play ball, and he can.
Right.
Like that makes no sense looking at him. Like same with Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Like another one. And my buddy Bill, who can who can drive a ball 350 yards. You never know what to look at him. Bill, that one's for you. Shout out. With that, I'm just going to promote a couple other things. How the hell did this go to #1 show? We just recorded. Oh, let's see if you can guess this. Turn around.
Bright Eyes.
Yeah. So we just did that one. So that's going to go up soon. We also did Shaft, the theme from Shaft. So that I think just went up, and it'll be a few weeks because I've got to go away for a bit when we do the next one. But that's going to be Sundown, Gordon Lightfoot. So we've picked a good Canadian boy to sort of take a look at.
Oh, I didn't know Gordy was Canadian.
Oh, very Canadian. I actually did an impression of him for the other two, for Andrea and Brad. I'll do that for you, and you're just going to think this is the worst thing you've ever heard. So I said, like, I'm going to bring Canadian and Barbadian Bayesian relations together before I moved there. And I said, so I came up with Gordon Lightfoot doing Rihanna. So there we go.
Maybe throw a little Anne Murray in there too.
I can't do Anne Murray's voice, but I can do Gordon. Okay. Oh, hey there, Mr. DJ, you put it on replay. You look like a very nice fellow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, horrible. And I've now done that on 3 separate shows. All of them awful.
Spread the thing around, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So yeah, with that, and just a small dedication. I've done this in a couple other shows, but whoever's watching, next time you have a glass of wine, just raise one up for my mom, who passed away at the age of 79 after probably a 10-year battle with Alzheimer's. Great woman. She would have watched everything that we did. This would have been her favorite show, Chris, because I think you keep me more in check, and I swear a lot less on this show than I do every other one.
Well, shout out to your mom. I'm so sorry for your loss, but what a great way to remember her.
Yeah, and that's sort of pretty much how I just sort of, yeah, she loved her wine. She loved the Gypsy Kings. She loved music. She loved a lot of things. Next time, but as awesome a woman as she was, she had these weird hatreds for someone who just like didn't hate a whole lot of anything. There was no hate in her heart except for Bernadette Peters and Pia Zadora. I cannot.
Those are two disparate performers, because Bernadette Peters is really talented. Pia Zadora, by her own admission, is not. Yeah.
I didn't. Maybe it's just something about the kind of look. Maybe a little. I don't know what it is, but I think next time, because it hasn't hit me yet. I haven't really cried over this, but I think if I ever see The Jerk on TV, I'll probably start bawling, and then no one will know. No one around me will have any clue why.
Yeah. Another classic, Heartbeats. Do you remember that?
Never saw it.
Okay.
That's the one with Andy Kaufman, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I've never seen it. Kaufman was, I could take him in very small doses.
Yeah.
Well, I knew he was sort of brilliant. It's just like, okay, if you're just laughing at us, you're not really entertaining me.
Yeah, he was sort of like method acting, like gone totally off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, so wherever you all are, wherever you may be, stay safe, everyone. Thanks for watching.